So let's talk about inspired action in today's video, because a lot of people get a bit confused by this whole, well, how do I know if the action I'm taking is inspired action? Is this action that is part of my bridge of events? I'm feeling pretty good about myself now, so how about I reach out to my specific person and see, or is that not an inspired action? Is that going to ruin things if I reach out? And maybe I should just leave it for them to reach out to me first. And I've even noticed it in comments as well of some clients and people who've shared their success story. If they mention that they for some reason have reached out first, then suddenly it kind of demeans the whole success story of, oh, but they did reach out first and they did. So we're going to discuss this. We're going to get absolute clarity in today's video on what is inspired action. How do you know if you're taking inspired action? Is it the right action? Is it wrong? What happens if you take action and you weren't supposed to? If you just ruin things, do you have to start all over again? Let's talk about it here in today's video. First, I just want to thank you all for joining me. I'm Athena Raven. I'm a mental health and manifestation life coach, here to empower and inspire you on your manifestation journey. So if you're enjoying the content, please do support and enjoy support this channel by liking and subscribing to the content. It really helps this channel to grow so we can reach a wider audience, and click that bell icon as well so you never miss a beat. I'm potentially going to change my release date of videos from Mondays to Tuesday. And of course, I'm going to keep the success story Fridays, because we've got to have our wish fulfilled Fridays. So they're still going strong. Again, thank you for everyone who's been submitting their success stories. Love you all. And I love you all for joining me consistently on my channel. It's lovely to have you all here. So let's talk about this, because I get a lot of people asking about the whole inspired action. They're really worried about it. And at the very core of it, inspired action just feels like very natural, normal, day-to-day action. It's very, very normal, actually. If, for example, you're manifesting, say, a specific person, and you feel like you're feeling pretty good about yourself, and then you're just thinking, okay, well, I just want to test the waters. I just want to reach out. And you're thinking about it and you're contemplating it, is that necessarily an inspired action? You see, you have to ask yourself, at the very core of it, you have to ask yourself, if you're questioning your actions, you're questioning what you're doing, that most likely is not an inspired action. An inspired action that's coming from your core state of being feels very normal, feels very natural, and in some cases is not even directly related to your manifestation, if that makes sense. Let me give you an example from my own life experiences just to demonstrate this for you. Remember, I've shared before my story about, as you know, I've manifested numerous specific people, but this one in particular, so not to confuse everybody, this one specific person in particular, I had set the intention he was going to come back into my life. I didn't want a relationship with him. This was to reconnect after a bad breakup. And this was it last summer or the summer before? Now I'm losing track of days with how much my life has changed lately. But essentially, anyway, I set that desire and I was strong, stayed true to it. And I just accepted that, yep, he's coming back. In which case, in my shift in state, based on that strong decision, based on that knowing and acceptance of what I was worth to him, and the fact that I'm unforgettable, and the fact that all my exes come back, which is my core belief anyway, I started to have these very, very natural thoughts with regards to what he was thinking and feeling about me, what he was doing, driving around, trying to bump into me. All of this, as you guys know, was all reflected back to me in time. Anyway, my action, my day-to-day action, because of course I could have been concerned about how is he going to reach out to me. You see, he'd had my number before, but it was very evident to me that he had deleted me or blocked me on WhatsApp. And remember, I'd said as well that the little icon vanished on WhatsApp. So that meant that I didn't see his profile picture anymore. That's usually an indicator of you've been blocked or they've deleted your number. So I've been like, okay, fine. That last argument, he's obviously cut me off. So I could have been concerned about how is he going to reach me? How are we going to reconnect? Shall I reach out to him? I have to be the first one to reach out to him. You see, if I had taken that action and I had reached out to him in that state of anxiety and needing to push things along. That wasn't inspired. That wasn't natural. And because I had shifted my state, to be honest with you, I didn't have that concern at all. Perhaps as well because I understand how the law works. I understand that this life is my reflection always, and your reflection is always going to find a way to be reflected back to you always. You know, we're not worried about how am I going to see my reflection. What if I don't have a mirror? How am I going to see my reflection? Well, there's many different ways your reflection is going to be reflected, through puddles or shiny cars, or even in the TV screen you can see your reflection. It's always going to find a way. So don't worry about, oh, they've blocked me, they don't have my number, how is this going to happen? Like I say, the how in this entire journey, the how is not down to us. It's not up to us to concern ourselves with. We just occupy the end state. We choose to have that assumption that, yes, this is working out for me. This is who I am now. This is what I'm going to be a coach. I'm going to be in that relationship. I'm going to have this sort of income. This is what I'm going to have. I feel this now. I've made this decision. And I've placed myself there enough times that I feel like I already am a coach, even though I'm not, for example. I feel like I'm already in that relationship. I feel so secure and attractive and calm within myself. I feel like I'm in a relationship, even though I know I'm not. I'm so content with this present moment. You know, we familiarize ourselves with that. And so because I had occupied that state with relation to this specific person, I had no desire at all to reach out to him. I was not worried about how the mirror of life was going to reflect this desire back to me, in spite of the fact that he obviously didn't have my number and I wasn't going to be the first to reach out, unless I really had to, unless it was an inspired action. It has happened to me before, where something has happened and I had to reach out to that specific person. It wasn't something that I wanted to do. It wasn't something that I was thinking about, and is this going to be part of my manifestation? It was something that I was almost pushed to do in relation to something that had happened, and that was part of this bridge of events. So you're kind of going with the flow of it, you know. But if I was messaging him out of anxiety, the outcome could have been very different. My bridge of events would have gone a completely different way, perhaps derailed a bit, who knows. But I've suddenly gone from the person who has to the person who is now trying to manipulate 3D. And if I'm manipulating 3D and worried about how they're going to contact me, then I'm potentially coming from the state of lack and not being and not having, which means that's going to be reflected back to me, and this whole situation would have turned out very, very differently from what it did. But as it was, my inspired action was something very normal and not directly connected to my desire, i.e. not necessarily me reaching out to them or me talking to a friend and telling them to reach out to them. It wasn't at all. Like I said, like I shared before, my inspired action that day of us meeting, for example, was to dye my hair so that I was delayed in taking little Cocoa Bean out for his usual walks. My inspired action and someone else's inspired action, some stranger, was to come and talk to me whilst I was walking Coco, to stop me, to delay me in my tracks, because I needed to be at a certain place at a certain time to meet up with this SP. So you see, he came in, distracted me for just the right amount of time, and then he left. I see my friend who had also planned to meet. He stayed just the right amount of time. Then he suddenly had to leave. And then Coco had the inspired action to drag me to this green, this little park, of which I had no intention of going this day. It was getting late. I didn't want to go there. And yet he dragged me there. We ended up there. And then bam, that's where I met my specific person. That's where he reflected that he was thinking of me, missing me, and all the rest of it. That's where everything unfolded from. And I didn't have to do anything to make it happen. I didn't feel like I was taking any action towards this goal. I wasn't pushing it. I wasn't coming from a place of anxiety, and I wasn't questioning any of it. And day to day, I was just living my life really normally, really naturally. That's why I say you'll have an inkling one day. You'll be like, I don't know why I feel like I'm going to go to this coffee shop today at this specific time. And maybe that's where you bump into them, or maybe that's where an opportunity arises. So many different seeds that I've planted, so many different ways that it unfolds. And I've seen this with my clients numerous times too. And you guys are seeing it as well through their success stories that they're sharing. But there's been so many random things that have happened where clients have said to me as well, oh, this happened, then that happened, then I ended up losing this uh, ring of mine that then made me ask something to this person that then just set off a chain of events. And you see, they don't realize it, but it's like, that's all your inspired action. It was your inspired action to lose your ring. So then it sparked off a conversation with your family member that then set you in motion for this, that then put you into action for that. It just feels so normal. It doesn't feel like you're doing anything to force it. There's no force involved in it. And it's a very natural stage of events. So does that make sense? If you are questioning it, if you are worried about, oh, should I take action, how is this going to happen, we don't worry about the how. We don't even go there. You've already gone to the end, and your actions, just like your reactions, just like your thoughts, just like your feelings, are all going to come from that core state you occupy. So ensure that your core state is that of, I am this, I have this, I've become one with this desire now, and everything else is taken care of, is automatic. It's against your free will. You have no free will in it. It's just that it's all taken care of. You will be moved just like everyone else is going to be moved to bring this desire about. And say that you did derail, say that you did reach out to your SP when you shouldn't have. You haven't ruined anything. Remember that creation is finished. Remember that potential, it exists as potential. You and your specific person together in a relationship, say you did derail and you did reach out to them and it wasn't met with the best response, it doesn't matter. You were just occupying that state of still lacking, still anxiety. This is why we feel impatient. This is why we try and push things along and manipulate things, because if we are the person that has, if we're looking at life through the perspective that at the moment I'm on this bridge of events to my end goal, then what am I pushing for? I'm already on the journey to this unfolding. So why am I manipulating or chasing anything at the moment? I'm on it. It's happening. It's all happening right here, right now. So if you did react, it doesn't matter. Don't give yourself a hard time. Don't start believing that you've ruined things beyond it coming to be, because that's not the case either. It's always there. There's the potential. It's always going to exist forever and always. Whether you occupy the state of having it or not, that potential is always going to be in existence. Remember, creation is finished. Remember, we're not creating anything new. Remember, consciousness is infinite. So you just shift your state of being and immediately you're on that bridge to that end result. Doesn't matter. You haven't derailed things and messed things up and ruined it and got to start from scratch and all of these other beliefs that a lot of coaches are imposing and inflicting on you. That is not the case. That's not the case at all. As soon as you decide to shift your state of being, that movement is immediate, even though it might not be immediately apparent and obvious from the get-go. It is immediate. It is happening, and I can talk more about that in other videos as well if you want to know, and I'll demonstrate for you as well with my own experience too. Again, movement was immediate even though I didn't know it and a lot of my clients don't realize it at the time as well. It's only at the end that you realize, and if you're so inclined to analyze the bridge of events, but a lot of the times we are not. We're just too happy living our desire because we've got our desire, right? We forget. So I really hope this helps you out. If you still got some insecurities and worries about inspired action, or there's something you'd like me to go into more depth and detail with regards to it that I didn't touch upon in this video, do let me know. And remember that it's not always obvious that you're even taking action towards your desire, because your action could be something quite random, like dyeing your hair so that it delays you so that you can bump into your SP at the right time, or accepting a ticket to a gig that a friend of yours gave you, because guess who's going to be there? Your SP, even though you're not expecting it at all. This could all be your inspired, this is the type of inspired action that could occur. And you're not necessarily going to be like, or my clients are not necessarily going to be like, oh, Athena, guess what? I got a ticket to this gig. So there we go. There's the movement for my manifestation. Well, that's not obvious. It's not obvious that, oh yes, I got a ticket to a gig, so that means me and my SP are coming back together. That means, you know, I'm going to meet my SP. You're not going to know until afterwards, right? So just live your day to day in your best, and just put your attention and awareness on the state of being that you occupy. That's what you need to shift. Everything else taken care of. It's a done deal. Sending you guys loads of love. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you for Friday's success stories.